Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Marlu and this is Mainly Books, and today I'm going to show you my March wrap-up. I read 11 books this month and I'm going to talk a bit about the books and what I thought about them. The first book I read is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice from Murderers by Jessie Santanto. I also read this book in my reading video that I did, so you can find it on my channel. It's the one before this one. This is about a 60-year-old woman who has a tea shop and nothing ever happens there. She has like one customer, and then one day she finds a dead body in there and she's going to help the police by interviewing the suspects, like forming suspects, but she ends up bonding with them. I give this 3.75 stars because this was a very fun, cozy, found family book. I really enjoyed this. Sometimes I just really need a book like this to put the fun in it. Like it was not like mind-blowing or anything, but it was fun, it was interesting. I like found family. I like when old people get a better life than they had before. That is just wonderful. So I definitely recommend this book if that's kind of your cup of tea. Oh my god. See what I did there? That was an accident. I love it. So yeah, that's the first book. Then I listened to Down the Drain by Julia Fox as an audiobook. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. This is about Julia Fox's life, starting in her childhood, going through her teenage years, her adult years. I'm sorry, my cat is drinking right now. She wrote it herself. It's a memoir. It's brutally honest, like sometimes a little bit too honest that I'm like, well, I would never write that down. But like knowing that she's kind of unhinged and stuff, it makes sense and it's entertaining, and she put herself in the book, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that it really feels like it's her story and not someone like writing it for her. She goes through some really bad stuff in her early years. It's a lot. So definitely look up the trigger warnings. But yeah, I was really excited to read it, so I was really glad that I could listen to it as an audiobook. I always love memoirs narrated by the authors. Then I read Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I did not pronounce that correctly, I'm sure. I read this book, it took me a while. This book is about Kathy, and she's now 31, but most of the book we're in the past, and she is kind of in this, like, let's say boarding school, and she has like 2 friends in there, and it's kind of like dystopian, but it's not about the dystopia. It's like if it was the normal world. And I don't want to spoil anything about the book, because I think for me the only fun part in this book is finding out what the dystopian part was going to be. What this book does, it's about the characters. It's about how people act in scenarios. So it's not about, ooh, dystopian, ooh, exciting times, which I appreciate that. Like learning about how people act in certain environments. However, these characters didn't feel completely real, thought out, inspiring. I couldn't connect to these characters. I didn't care much for them, and I wanted to, because that's the point of the book. Again, like the dystopian part is fun, but it's not what it's about. So you really need to connect to the characters. It wants to be something, and for me it's not. So I gave it 2 stars because it really disappointed me. But the premise I like that it's dystopian, but it's about the characters, but the characters didn't do it for me. The writing didn't do it for me. So unfortunately, it's a no for me. But if you like this book, that's possible. Like with anything ever, like I rate not always too highly. Like if you love a book, please don't like mind me. Like I also don't like when I love a book and people hate it. So, you know, don't feel like trashed or anything. I'm just here to give my opinion. I skipped 2 books. Well, first I listened to Killjoy by Holly Jackson. This is a novella, so it's really short. It's about Pip from the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. She's going on a murder mystery dinner party and like being one of the like victims, no, suspects. I gave it 3 stars because it's fun, I guess, but it's also like there are no stakes, because like this is a is it called a prequel? A prequel to the series. So nothing big can happen in this book because you would already know that because of the other books coming after it. And I guess it's fun to see how she got interested in crime. But was it necessary? No, I feel like this was more of like a cash grab book. Was it necessary for me to read this? Definitely not, but it was short, so it's fine. But it was not, yeah, it didn't give much. Then I listened to The House in the Cilan Sea by TJ Klune. I gave 3.5 stars. This book, I have seen so many people love it, and I gave it a try because I was like, if I am ever going to read a fantasy book, I might as well pick one that has really high reviews. Okay, so the book is about this guy who is kind of like a inspector of like orphanages, but like orphanages with like special kids with like special powers or like special identities, I guess you could call it. And then he goes to this one house and he gets into contact with these children, and yeah, it's about that basically. And I thought it was funny sometimes, like the kids say some weird stuff about like murdering people that I thought was funny. And yeah, it's very cozy and cutesy, I guess. But sometimes with books, when I start a book, I have a feeling like I know exactly how this book is going to go. Like I've already read it, you know what I mean? And this book was exactly that. I felt like I could have written this story, not just to make it good, but to know exactly how it was going to go. For me, it felt very like the structure was like, obviously this is going to happen. And that's not bad, but that made it just like, I don't know, it feels kind of like a children's book in a way, which is, again, comfortable to read, but I don't know. I'm not going to read more fantasy. This did not convince me to read more by him or by the fantasy genre in general. But I think it's good to, you know, get out of your genre, but I'm not going to do it again. But this was fine. If you like these type of books, I think I recommend it. It's cozy, it's cute, right? It's not like world building. It's like, it's our world. So that's easy. You can easily get into it, and that's why I chose it. Then I read Never Let Me Go. And then I listened to Eileen by Otessa Morvik. Anna recommended it to me. Thank you. I listened to it as an audiobook. I wish I had read it as a physical book or an ebook because there was some writing in there that I wanted to reread and like annotate and just save for myself because there's some nice writing in it. Which I feel like with audiobooks, you kind of just like glass over that because you're, you know, listening to it. But there was definitely some nice writing in it that I would have wanted to write down. So if I ever see like an interest of, maybe I will pick it up to just do that. But yeah, Eileen is about a woman who works in a prison, and she is, I don't know much about the book anymore. It's the thing. I have read My Year of Rest and Relaxation 2 years ago by her. It was one of my first books. So at that point, I was not really loving the no plot, just vibes books. Like I had to get into that like literary fiction thing. So I didn't enjoy it as much because I was like, what is the point of this book? But then I was like, oh, I did like some of the writing in it. So I will give this author another chance because I now do enjoy reading more about characters than just plot. And this book also had that aspect of like, it's mostly about her character. And I'm sorry, I cannot really say much about her because I have read so many books after this and I'm a bit confused actually. So I don't know the hard facts. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I have not given a rating yet, I see. I think I'll have to settle on 3.5 stars because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the writing. But it's not as like in my head. Like I cannot like relive it that good. Like I can only relive the ending, which makes sense. But like the rest of the book is a little bit of a blur, so I cannot like rate it higher because of that. But I did enjoy it. Next time I want to read an Otessa Morvik book, I'll just pick up the physical version because I think her writing calls for physical reading. Then I read The Hunting Wives by May Kopp. I read this at a time where the sun was shining. I was reading this in the yard. This was the vibe. This book, I love books like this. This is about obsession, about people with money, about people with way too much alcohol. This is my subgenre. Rich, obsessed people, famous people also enjoy that. These people are not famous. Yeah, this book is about a woman who goes back to her town where she grew up. She goes to live there and she gave up her job. So she's a stay-at-home mom, but she's like, I'm getting bored. So she becomes obsessed with this like rich woman, and pretty quickly she gets invited to their hunting club. And I'm not gonna say like the hunting club is not just shooting guns. But yeah, you just learn about that, and it's about the obsession and about her making choices. Like, ooh, I love my husband, but I just really enjoyed reading this. And there's like, at some point they're like in a bar and they're playing Crazy. Like the woman is like putting Crazy on the jukebox. So it's like putting on that song while reading it. Like it's Crazy. That song, right? It's vibey. This book is so Netflix material. This could be so easily be like a show or a movie, and I would eat that up. I would eat it up. It's like Desperate Housewives meets Dead to Me meets, I don't know. This was very fun. Am I saying this is the best book ever? Like the ending is like crazy good? No. I'm not saying this is the best book ever. I'm saying I enjoyed it a lot. So what do we rate a book like that? I don't know. Maybe we should just settle on 3.5. I feel like higher is like setting it to be better than it was. It was just very enjoyable. And sometimes I value that more than goodly written. Goodly written? What? Sometimes I value fun over great writing. So if you have a similar taste, check it out. It's fun. Then I read Poor Things by Alasdair Gray. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Well, I heard great things about the movie. Obviously, it won like Oscars and stuff. And I was like, well, let's just read the book first. I gave 2 stars. Listen. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you quickly what the book is about. It's kind of like Frankenstein. This guy saves, can I say that? I don't know how much I can say. He brings a woman back to life, but she's like young in her mind. So she's not her actual age, if that makes sense. And then this other, like this main character guy is like an old man and he's like in love with her. That's what I'm going to say about this book. I gave it 2 stars. I did not enjoy this. I listened to this in audiobook. I had to read it, like normally I read like 2 times speed. I had to slow this shit down. I mean, not slow it down, but like listen in like 1.5 speed. Because this guy is like, the author is Scottish. I don't know if the narrator is also Scottish, but the accents were, for me, all over the place. I'm not a native speaker, so like accents can be tricky for me. And it was hard to understand that, first of all. Secondly, I just did not understand what I was supposed to enjoy about it. Like, I just didn't really get it. I read it, but I didn't read it. It's not, you know what I mean? It's like, I read it, but I have no idea what I just read. And it's also just kind of like, this book has great reviews. Like, you know, people love it, but people who criticize it is like, well, it's kind of like weird because this woman is like a child, basically, in a woman's body, and being in love with a woman like that, it's kind of like wrong because she's a very easy, like, are you a pedophile? Or are you just loving women you're more easy to manipulate because they're younger in your head? I don't know. It was just, I just didn't fuck with it at all. And now I was really excited to see the movie, and now I'm like, wow, maybe the movie is good. Maybe the movie I can understand. Subtitles. No, but like, I'm not saying this book is awful, but I just did not get it at all. Like, it was like, I imagine if you have not read in 10 years and you finally pick up a book, and that's what it feels like. That, like, what is reading? You know what I mean? I was like, not vibing with it, but I did finish it because I was like, well, got into it, might as well finish. I don't do DNFs. I mean, I did. I DNF'd 2 books. I DNF'd one day in the first chapter. I saw the first 20 minutes of the episode on Netflix and I was like, oh my god, I don't like this at all. And then I was like reading the book, and then I was like, oh, they're saying very similar things. I don't like this either. And then I also started The Idea of You. Is that what it's called? Is that like this Harry Styles fan fiction turned into a movie with Julia Roberts? And I did not like that either. So I did DNF. But like audiobooks, DNFing feels easier. Poor Things was also an audiobook. I just felt like I needed to stick it out because I kept going. through bad books. Then I read Don't Look Back by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This book starts with our main character, Sam, who is found by the police in the woods, and her best friend is gone, and her memory is gone. So she doesn't remember anyone in her family. She doesn't remember what happened. Throughout the book, she is just trying to remember what happened so she can like save Cassie, the missing best friend, and find out what happened. So it's fun, it's interesting, but it feels a little bit YA. Maybe it is YA, I don't know. Sometimes with YA books, I'm just not really vibing with it. I feel like they're sometimes like pushing the romance a little bit too hard. Like, I love, life is complicated, life is more nuanced, and with YA, sometimes very much like, ooh, obviously there are two guys, but this guy is the good guy, and this guy is the bad guy. And it's like, I want to draw those conclusions myself. Thank you very much. So is that my critique of YA fillers? Again, I don't know if this is YA. I think so, right? Nothing really explicit happens. Yeah, I gave it 3.2 stars because it was exciting and fun, but it was not like, writing style wasn't like super whoa. Then I read Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. I gave it 3.2 stars. I also listened to this as an audiobook. It was very British, but I managed. This book is about a lady who's kind of like, I would say, autistic. It's not stated in the book, but it's, yeah. She is not really picking up on social cues. She is very, not an easy person to be around. So she goes to her job and stuff, and she has like this complicated past. And then at some point in the book, she does end up like trying to be like more like normal in the world and see what happens. So this book was both a little bit cringy, but also fun. Like, there's like a fine line with characters like that, like characters who have like no social cues, no filter. They just say things, and sometimes it's just really like, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's like endearing, but then I'm also like, should we find this endearing? But I don't know. I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. That's my whole review. Then I read Elsewhere by Gabriella Zevin. This is a YA book about 15-year-old Liz, and she is dead. And she goes to this place called Elsewhere, which is where you go when you die. And she meets people there, and she goes to live with her grandma who's dead, but she hasn't met. What happens in this book, when you die, you age in reverse. So eventually you're going to be a baby, and then you're going to be like sent back to Earth and like reincarnate. Is that a word? Reincarnate? Yeah, as a baby on Earth. But because Liz is 15, she's like, I will never be 16. What? Like, she is struggling with that. Throughout the book, you just learn about her like dealing with her own death and stuff. And I think I'll give this 3.75. Gabriella Zevin knows how to write in a fun, relaxing way that one should keep reading. I would have loved this as a kid, like a teenager. Like, this is YA, so it's like at least sum up to the I want more. There's one part in it with the mermaids, if you know, you know. I love that. I love whenever like mermaids just are there just to be bitchy cunts. I love it. I love it. Like, yes, thank you mermaids for this cameo in this book. No, but yeah, I enjoyed this very much. Good writing, fun characters. Like, that's what it is. Her writing is very colorful. Her characters feel very real, colorful. I can just imagine them. I can imagine myself talking to them. And that's what I love about her writing. So I really recommend it. And then the last book I read is Allwell by Mona Allwell. I listened to this an audiobook. I have a difficult relationship with Mona because I read Bunny by her. And that's a book that a lot of people that I enjoy watching on YouTube love Bunny, and I kind of hated it. I gave it like 2 stars, I think. But this book as well is about Shakespeare and about theater, and I am actually currently in a Shakespeare play. I mean, it's not like Shakespeare, it's inspired by Shakespeare. It's not like that difficult. It's like a little bit more like modern. But yeah, I am very interested in books about theater and whatever. Like, I loved If We Were Villains. It's like, it's also about theater and becoming your character and stuff. And that's really enjoyable to me. So I wanted to give this book a try. I was enjoying it at first, very much enjoying it. But at some point in this book, this main character says the words, "Am I right?" so many times that I just got aggressive. Like, she said it like 10 times in a day. She did this to me. So yeah, the book is about a woman who is like always in pain, like her legs, her back, and she goes to all these doctors and chiropractors and physiotherapists and everyone trying to get to help her, but nothing works. Everything hurts. She's like lying on the ground, to drink a lot of alcohol. She cannot deal with the pain. She's also a theater director for like a college, I think, but she's not a teacher. She was in the professional like Allwell production herself as the main character. Forgot her name. So she wants to put on that play. Those children do not want to put on that play, and this woman, she's like, things happen. The way Mona writes, she writes a lot of things that are like blurring the line between real and fake. And with Bunny, that for me was like dumb. I did not like how in Bunny, like the girls, the bunnies, the things they would do with those men, I was like, why? If you can do shit like that, why don't you do something that like is valuable? Like, that was my problem with it. In this book, my problem was not with what happened to her, like what is real and fake, that all of that, I was digging it. I was like, well, it's interesting, it's not weird, it's not irrational. I was like, yeah, I can totally see why you went this way. What annoys me was mostly, like I said, the writing. Like, why do you say am I right? She was so annoying. Like, this woman starts off the book being like, she's in so much pain, so she's always like, you know, complaining, like being like not mobile and stuff. And I literally liked her more at that point than later in the book when she gets more mobile. She is insufferable. I love characters who are like bad. Like, she can do all the bad stuff she wants. That's fine with me. But don't annoy me with your inner monologue. Whew. So I think I'll have to end up with like, oh, I don't know. I'm just putting in the screen. I'm doubting if it's gonna be a 3.5 or lower. I don't know. I enjoyed some of it, but I was really annoyed by her. I just wanted the book to be over because I could not read from this character anymore. I was listening to an audiobook, and like on 2 times speed, you just keep hearing, am I right? Am I right? Am I right? I wanted to smack her. I wanted to smack her so bad. Like, shut up. Shut up. She was insufferable. So yeah, she goes on the list of most insufferable characters in the world, and she's number 1. So yeah, those were the 11 books I read this month. My throat is dry from talking about them. Whew, please let me know what you thought of them, and if you've read any of these books and what you thought. And yeah, if you have any book recommendations, always leave them down below. If you by now kind of know my taste, then that'd be great. Like, if you're gonna recommend like Sarah J. Maas, then I'm not gonna read that. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to be uploading a book haul this week as well, so definitely subscribe and don't miss that. And I would love to see you next time. Bye!